Hi everyone, greetings again from Ian. This is the third short video, 10 minutes in John, and I'm calling this Behold the Kindness and the Severity. Now, after Jesus' baptism by John and after the descent of Holy Spirit upon him, John discloses to us the two polar activities, almost polar opposites in the life of Jesus and of indeed God the Father, that are intended to unlock for us just who we are dealing with. And John reveals the two primary faces of God. The Bible is replete with the message of both the mercy and the judgment of God. For example, he had mercy on Abel, but brought a judgment on Cain. He had mercy on Noah and his family and brought a judgment on the rest. He had mercy on Israel and brought a judgment on Pharaoh and Egypt. And this pattern is repeated and seen throughout the Old Testament. In each case, mercy, of course, was on offer to all, to everyone, but it was spurned by some. And by spurning that offer, they were thereby choosing an alternative and actually choosing judgment. For example, God's offer of mercy in Noah's day was on offer to all, and for a long time. In Romans 11, Paul talks about these two aspects of God's dealings with his people, the Jews, and of course with the Gentiles, and his unfolding plan with respect to each of them. And in verse 22 he says, "So then, consider the kindness and the severity of God on those who fell," by whom he means the Jewish people in their failure to receive and believe, severity. "But toward you," that is, the Gentiles to whom he's writing, "goodness, if you will continue in his goodness." And so far as mankind is concerned, so far as we are concerned, those who obey and follow God see and experience his smile, and those who spurn his ever-open offer of mercy and who rebel and disobey endure his frown. But first and foremost, he's the Lord of goodness and grace and mercy. Consider the first two public acts of Jesus as presented to us by John. His very first is a miracle of kindness and blessing, in which John says he displayed his glory. And we have seen in this series and understood what is meant by his glory. It's that of which a thing is filled, that of which it is constituted. In the miracle at the wedding, Jesus smiled on family and marriage and everything that fills humans with the joy of celebration in what the Father has instituted for our welfare and blessing. And at the wedding, and waiting and watching from the wings, able and willing to help when the timing was right, was Jesus. And Mary comes to Jesus to inform him of their plight. They're out of wine. She informs rather than requesting. And in my view, this is where Jesus takes the opportunity to begin to change his relationship with his mother. And John records Jesus saying to Mary what appears to mean, "Dear woman, this is not one of those you and me matters. My time or my moment hasn't yet come." Here was the moment signifying the changing relationship between mother and son, and perhaps Mary informing Jesus rather than making a request was her error. He knew the situation. He had in mind what he'd do, and as always was watching the Father for the moment. But he had to remind her that he was not to be manipulated into performance at the moment that she thought it ought to be done. His timing is perfect timing. The problem didn't belong to them jointly, but now only to him. And to come with him, to him with our requests, to ask something of him, is the acknowledgement that it's something he's able to do and I am not. And it's an act of trust and relinquishment. I'm not in this relationship to inform the one who sees every sparrow fall and every hair of my head. I'm simply to ask and then to trust him for what I can't do. To people who wanted to do it their way rather than trusting God, Isaiah, a long time ago, wrote this. It's in chapter 30 of Isaiah. Therefore, the Lord waits to be gracious to you. Therefore, he exalts himself to show mercy to you. For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are those who wait for him. He waits through our impatience and through our fleshly activity for us to be ready to wait for him and to ask of him. And at the wedding, Jesus, just like his Father, was waiting to be gracious. And so his first public action was a work of kindness. And you'll notice that the jars, which had been in the past used only for ritual purification and represented the old stultifying adherence to ritual, are now turned into vessels of joy and blessing. It's a visual parable of the coming change that Jesus is bringing. And his second action, however, was a work of severity and judgment. He went up to the Jerusalem temple and cleansed it, casting out the money changers and saying, "Do not make my Father's house a house of merchandise." And both actions, from the Father and from Jesus, show the two sides of his character, mercy and judgment. And both events are in a sense about prayer. With Mary, it's ask, don't inform. With the money changers, it's how dare you abuse the place set aside by me for you to approach me and pray. It's as though Jesus was obliged to show the two primary aspects of God's disposition toward us, the two sides which ultimately determine the destiny of each one of us. He's saying, this is what my kindness and mercy is like. I desire you to enjoy life, to enjoy it together with me and with one another. But also know that this is what my judgment is like. There's an order and a place in which I must stand in relationship to you. You must always remember I am the creator and you are the created or the creature. If you treat that relationship with disdain or bring the things that you want in over the top of it, you're offending me and you're creating outcomes and consequences that you will find regrettable. It's as though John is saying, which Jesus will you choose? Which countenance? Lord of mercy, kindness and grace? Or will you choose the Lord of justice and judgment? We're all to choose. God bless you as you do.